Well, I think Dennis Baskey was the president then, and his wife Joyce was very supportive. And they curled in a bonspiel, and Joyce said, you know, we really need to get things started for women in Parry Sound. That's all I know.
No, really, I don't. I just heard about it, and that was in 1950 something, and I started in 1960. So that was a long time ago. Right?
And did Rolly curl before you?
Yes, he did.
So the men were curling way before you.
Figures. Yes. That's how it happened.
It's like the Gore Schoolboy Championship. It took 50 years before they finally let the girls in. 50 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a long time. Yeah. Yeah, a bit. Like for one thing, if women have a bonspiel, you always have a theme, and you always, dress up and do skits and things like that. I don't think you'd ever see something like that at a men's spiel. Sometimes a mixed spiel, but not a men's spiel. And the way you call the game seems to be different with men than with women, although it's getting much closer now. Yeah. Well, because the men, tended to I coached kids curling for years and years, and the boys would always be the strong takeouts, way more weight than they needed, which would mean they'd hit and roll out. The women would tone it down, and so our rocks would stick around. So a lot more rocks in play in women's curling, it seemed. Now anything goes, because the women are equally good as the men, if not better in some ways.
And equally as competitive.
Yeah.
But I think what Nancy means about the bonspiels is we go in bonspiels to have fun.
Fun, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
we are competitive.
Yes.
We are very competitive, and there are some extremely good women curlers at our club. But there's always that fun element.
Right.
I don't think women would go in it if it wasn't fun.
No.
But they like the competition too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always went in because I liked the competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out of town, of course, to curl, to various towns were having bonspiels. So I would get a team up and go and have fun.
Exactly.
Sometimes we won.
Marian was always a skip, a wonderful skip, great strategy, nerves of steel to throw that last rock. But you enjoyed skipping,
Oh,
Marian?
I loved it. I just did. Yeah. I certainly did. And I can't believe now when I think of it, how long ago it was. My goodness. But it was my husband that was the influence. He was already curling, and I would go down and watch him, and finally he said, well, why don't you decide to play? So there it was, and I did, and I loved it. I missed it this year. I didn't get to play this year because it had a small health problem, but hopefully I'll be curling next year.
Well, my dad introduced me to it, and he tried to get all of my family to curl. My mother said, what a silly sport, you would never do it. My sisters weren't much interested either, although all four of us do now curl, at least on occasion. I mean, I'm the only one that curls full-time, but it was my dad. And then I was lucky enough to win the city championship in Niagara Falls way back when I was in high school. And all the ladies were so supportive. That's what kept me involved, and because they had coached me and helped me out and like asked me to go in Bonspiels with them, you name it. I did the same when I got up here. I just grabbed the kids and said, you know, like, come on, I want to coach you and I want to, you know, give back. So I basically gave back. And so I started second I arrived in Parry Sound, I started curling.
I started as an adult. I didn't curl as a kid, and I grew up here. But I came back as a teacher, and Ray Pavlov was on my staff. And he said, I have 32 kids at the curling club all by myself. Would somebody come and help me? And so I was a brand new teacher, and I said, well, I don't know how to curl, but I will help. I will come and help. And so he got me on the ice, and that was in 1984. And so I started working with kids that year, and I maybe have missed 2 years in 40 years of curling with junior curlers. So I started just helping Ray supervise, and he said, well, you might as well put your running shoes on and come out on the ice. And I learned along with the kids. And then as I got transferred to different schools, I started up curling programs there. Ray even had made homemade rocks out of epoxy and cans and stuff. And when I was teaching at Britt Public School, he sent them up to me so that we could curl on the outdoor rink with the Britt kids. And then I came back into town and helped him with the Beatty kids. And so that's how I started curling. But I remember our first leagues, like our first time I was involved in a ladies team in Parry Sound, we had 3 draws. One started at 6 o'clock, one started at 8, and one started at 10 o'clock. And you didn't get off the ice. That's how many women were curling.
Yeah.
They had to have 3 draws in a night.
That's right.
So you wouldn't even get off the ice until after midnight. We were all working and had little kids at home.
What year would that be?
In the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 draws for the evening curling.
Right.
And since I've been retired. So that's how I started curling. I started helping with kids, and I've curled with kids for 40 years now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like any sport, the women, if they're competing at a high level, don't get paid as much as the men, generally speaking. Although that's changing now, and with curling, it's been that way for a long time, that they get paid the same and so on. So the women have, you know, been very competitive and have been really good to watch. So it sort of explains why they're getting paid, right, as much as the men, because it's just as exciting, if not more so sometimes. So I think, anyhow.
Yeah, I think, and they're superstars now too, right?
Yeah.
The kids can name Jennifer
Exactly.
Joneses and, you know,
Rachel Homans.
and it's really nice to see, particularly like Nancy used to work with the high school age kids. They know who these women are, and the profile of women in the sport, I think, has really improved. There were superstars back then.
There were.
You know, when I first started, the
Marilyn
Sandra
Monroe.
Schmerlers and
Sure.
you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think women feel welcome in a curling club. Well, I think they always have been in the 80s, and kids feel welcome in a curling club, and it's a great place to see kids learn to be around adults and learn, you know, the
And the
game.
etiquette.
The etiquette. There's a lot of etiquette and manners that go into it.
Well, actually, when I started, it was so long ago, and I had no idea. I'm not sure. It must have been my husband convinced me it was sport, and you should come because he was already curling. And I've ended up now just curling with seniors, so it's not as competitive, and you only curl twice a week. But you can still go in Bonspiels, and you can go out of town in Bonspiels. You know, it's just because you're a senior doesn't mean you can't still compete in some of those fields. But I'm sorry to say I had to give it up this year for health reasons, but I'm planning to be back next year, and I'm a senior.
The best of the best.
Before there was seniors curling, which is of course both men and women, there was always afternoon women's curling at the curling club too. I don't know when that stopped, but
I never went to that.
yeah, I mean, like, no, never. I thought I curled with you in the afternoon.
I don't remember.
Because I had afternoons off one year while I was teaching, and so like I actually went in the afternoon and curled for one season, you know. But it was fun, you know, like, and you know, you just had to not be working. That's also like the evening curling was called business women's curling, basically. Well, at least Wednesday night was. Monday night was just draw teams and play with one skip for a set amount of time. I know I curled an event too. But, you know.
Well, I'd have to say these two for me, because we put a team in on Wednesday night and we didn't know how to curl. And everybody was so friendly and welcoming, and just do your best, you know, and we wanted to have a team together, so we had to go on Wednesday night. So I would say there's lots of women, particularly Nancy and Marian, in the club that were welcoming and would take you aside, and if you say, could you watch me throw? And see what I'm doing wrong, you know, lots of mentors, lots of people who give of their time in the club.
And when I started, it was so long ago that there were no women curlers that were so well known that you looked up to them. I mean, I actually, as a junior, played against Marilyn Badeau and her sister Christine Jurgensen, but I didn't even know who they were at the time. Because, well, they were only juniors too, but, you know, but no, there weren't when I started, because it was too long ago.
What year would that be?
See, I graduated high school in 70, so 65.
Oh, that far back.
Yeah. Yeah, so there really weren't any female curlers that. It was the skaters and the skiers. I like Nancy Green and I like Karen Magnuson and things like that. I didn't know curlers. It was my dad that got me into it. So he was my mentor. He was my inspiration.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I'm a Rachel Holman fan for sure, and Reed Carruthers too. They're my two favorites. Yeah, tons.
Well, I have albums, and of course, looking through those albums brings back so many good memories of the good times had. It's always a happy experience to be in a Bonspiel. It really is. Even if you're losing.
Yeah. I mean, in a Bonspiel, you don't go there to lose. You go there hoping to win, but really
Yeah.
you're there because you know it's going to be a good time. And so
Yes.
it's always enjoyable, always. Like I think I 5 Bonspiels this year. I think so.
Mhm.
What's that?
Close.
Very good,
I've been
yeah.
at least 5 Bonspiels this
Have you
year.
really?
Yeah, I missed our
Good.
ladies open, but I've been to at least 5 out of town. And like there's also a Muskoka Parry Sound Muskoka League, interclub league, and so we go to other clubs to play as well, and they come to our club to play, and so there's a Bonspiel for that as well. And Deana's team came in second, so they won a trophy for winning that. That was a trophy we
Great.
won the year before.
Yeah, engraving.
They beat us to get there. Not fair.
We had a good day.
They had a good day, we didn't.
But our Ladies Open is probably really, we've all been at our
Oh,
Ladies
yeah.
Open, and something like Nancy was referring to, we have skits and it's fun, but there's really good curling. There's competitive
Yeah.
curling.
Yes.
And we have teams come from out of town, and that's our big one that we have here.
Right.
And then we take teams and go to the Parry Sound Muskoka, which was in Gravenhurst this year. And just every Bondsfield's been a nice memory for me. It's nice to play out of town teams. Like we get used to playing each other on round robin and that sort of thing. When a few out of town teams come, it's fun.
Oh gosh, I don't really know.
I sort of remember,
Probably
because I was on
haven't
the original committee, and it was Judy Gibson that
Mhm.
started it, so she got a committee together. And I remember us meeting, she owned the Kipling Hotel at the time, so we met at the Kipling Hotel.
Kitchener.
Or Kitchener Hotel, sorry, Kitchener Hotel. So we met at the Kitchener Hotel and discussed what we could do, and I think the first theme was either Western or something else, but anyhow, that was one of the first ones. But yeah, just a group of ladies just got together and figured out, yeah, we'd like Bondsville, and figured out what we had to do to get one started.
But you probably always had a team in that, Marian.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was always such a fun thing. It was competitive, but just being with the other curlers, and yeah, I've had a lot of good memories from all those Bondsfields.
We actually have a whole pile of photo albums that has every single picture of every single team that's ever been in the Georgia Bay Ladies Open. And so there's about, I think, 10 now? I can't
Yes.
remember. Look up and
Yes.
see all those books and I say, oh my God.
But a
There's
lot of the members don't really even realize
I
that we
know.
have that.
Yeah.
Mhm. They're
Yeah,
pretty
we
fun
should
to
pull
bring
them out.
out.
We should pull them out tonight.
Yeah.
At the closing dinner.
Who
Let
was on
everybody
your
see it.
team mostly, Marian? Did it change, or did you have many of the same people?
Well, yeah, it changed.
Yeah.
Because naturally, people come and go, and I'm looking at that picture over
Mhm.
Yeah.
there. You know, that was a long time ago.
This is Marian's
You remember
team.
Alice Holmes?
Yes.
Alice
Holmes Marina.
She
There's
was
a-
one of the best lady curlers.
And she has great grandkids. Steve threw one of the first rocks here for the grand opening, so
Oh, yeah?
that would be one of her great grandsons. Yeah, so
Alice
the Holmes
Holmes
family
is the
has
name, yeah.
stayed for years. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
his great grandmother with Marian Sarah, and then Mrs. Holmes.
Pat Powell. It's awful that you don't remember all the names.
No.
What a fun way to enjoy yourself, just go curling. I can remember saying, oh, I'm going curling. I wouldn't say no, but I went to most down to Barrie,
Mhm.
even Aurelia.
Mm.
I went to Midland. But whenever there was a chance to go, I would go.
Yeah.
And it was never hard to get a team together.
No.
Because it's something different when you go out of town. It's just the environment is different. And you don't know anyone there except even the team you're playing are strangers. So it's different, very different. But I loved it. I always looked forward to going to those.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I've got so many pins. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, pin collecting used to be a
Yeah,
really
even
big
in
thing.
that album I brought,
Yeah.
it's got all pins in the front.
Yeah, every club used to have their own pins. Sometimes they change the design every now and then, because I know I've got two from one club that are totally different. But yeah, it was fun to collect them. You exchange them with people you're playing against and so on. So you get pins from all over the place, and it was just kind of fun to buy them when you went to a club, you know, so it was neat.
There.
When-
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
See the pins?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then like a whole book is just full of memories and, whoops, uh-oh, what I dropped.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And when we used to have a paper, of course, everything would always be in the paper.
See?
Parry
Oh,
Sound
yeah.
spoke of
52nd.
these.
Okay, so that was the, oh, that's Parry Sound though. Okay, well, we know they're over 70, but,
2005.
yeah. But anyhow, yeah, like that's
Fun.
beautiful memories and stuff that
Oh
can
my
keep.
goodness, yes. And of course, then I have another album just as thick as this.
Oh, really? Wow. I didn't keep quite that many.
No.
Mine are all just in